Welcome. Today is the October 7th meeting of the Washington State Gambling Commission hybrid meeting. We're in person at the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board at 9:32 a.m. Today's meeting will be recorded and live streaming through TVW. We are holding this meeting telephonically as well as in person. Director Griffin, can you call the roll?
Yes. Would you like me to call the roll for those people that are here in the room as well?
Well, we can just say we can see Commissioner Sizemore, Commissioner Lawson, Commissioner Patterson, and myself. Oh, and Commissioner Reeves is on the phone. Who else is on the phone? Do we have any ex officios, I guess?
Yes, Senator Conway. Senator Holy. Representative Klova.
She is coming in now.
Representative Klova. Representative Vick.
Clover should have mics and camera now.
Representative Klova, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you. Just took a minute.
Good morning. Okay, you have a call.
Okay, so during the meeting, we will accept public comment. If you'd like to submit public comment via email, please submit them to askus@wsgc.wa.gov. If you have any questions regarding the meeting, please contact Julie Anderson at julie.anderson@wsgc.wa.gov. If you provide comment, please state your name, your contact information if you'd like to receive a summary of comments, and who you are representing. So today's meeting, I believe the only thing on the agenda is strategic planning for some years that I'll let Director Griffin tell us. So, and I think Director Griffin, you're gonna just kind of lead us through, right?
Yes, and then Chris will jump in and help out as well. So we hope to, the objective for today is to develop goals and objectives for the 2023-2028 strategic plan. I do have a PowerPoint. While you did have quite a bit of materials in your packet to prepare you for today's exercises, do have a PowerPoint that Julie will bring up, and it will just go over some of the high points in the packet to just refresh your memory and to really get us started through the process. And I see Senator Conway has joined us. Good morning, Senator.
Are you ready for the PowerPoint?
Yes. So I've developed a timeline for this process, and we did start the strategic plan development process last month. Thank you. So in September, we started with a SWOT analysis that is identifying our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to so that we could get the information for an internal and external assessment. And in doing so, we engaged staff through a survey and through discussions to hear their feedback in regarding the strengths, weaknesses internally, as well as opportunities and threats that could affect our achievement of future strategic goals externally. We also met with tribal partners and licensees to get their input on opportunities and threats. And then that feedback is outlined in your memorandum that is in your packet. Then yesterday, that takes us to October, then yesterday we had Crescenda provide you with some historical financial information as well as current and projected financial information. And then, of course, as we mentioned, we hope to leave the meeting with some goals and objectives. Then in November, it's a little hard to see, but in November and December, November, December, January, and February, staff will take the goals and objectives that you have prepared today, and staff will develop strategies and performance measures. So the goals that you're developing today will be the what we must do to accomplish our goals and the mission, goals, vision, and mission, vision, and values that will align with our mission, vision, and values. And the strategies that staff will develop will be the how we accomplish those goals and objectives. And they'll also include some performance measures so that we can make sure that we're fully capturing our accomplishments of those goals. And then in March, we will bring the plan back to you with those strategies and performance measures for you to take final action. And that will occur, like I said, in March, which happens to be the time frame of which we develop our biennial budget. So any goals and objectives and strategies identified that have financial impact, this will be an appropriate time to identify those and wrap those into the future budgets. And then we anticipate implementing then the 23-28 strategic plan on July 1st to coincide with fiscal year 24.
Excuse me, on when?
July 1st of 2023.
Okay.
Next slide, please. So to get us started, I thought it would be helpful to review the previous strategic plan.
May I ask a question? Can we see who's on what staff is on the meeting today so that we, like, if we have a question for a particular staff member, I'm just curious
The
who's,
staff that are on, there's Julie Lease, Cy, our IT director,
Gary?
Gary Drumheller, Jess Los, our acting rules coordinator, Jennifer Lamont.
She's the agent in charge of licensing. Kevin McCarty, he is the PIO. And then we have agents, it looks like a few agents and licensing service specialists. And did you mention Jamie?
I didn't.
Jamie Dowdy is officially now the administrator of our electronic gaming lab.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious who we had available as resources
No, good question.
outside of the room.
And just, let's make this a little bit less formal than normal. Like, feel free just to ask your questions. If things start to get out of hand, then we can change it, but.
I'm turning so I can see you better instead of just having to look directly. Okay. So thought we would take a moment to review the goals that were set in the previous strategic plan, and then how we've progressed through that plan. And even though it says 2022, we did ask in January and you did approve us to extend that a year because we were not able to work on the tactics for a year. So we just weren't able to update that official slide cover. So next slide, please. We had previous plan had 4 goals, and we will continue to work through these goals and through June 30th of 2023. So the goals that were identified in the previous plan were to help people who were suffering from gambling disorders, strengthen legislative relationships, staff continuity and succession planning, and strengthen stakeholder relationships. And there were 19 objectives that were outlined in the plan. And to date, we have completed 14 of those. One was determined not to be needed, which was to revise the Gambling Act to increase agency problem gambling responsibility. That was under helping people with union disorders. And 3 are still in progress. This process, and like I said, we will continue to work on these outstanding objectives through the end of June. And those 3 include improve tribal billings system, coordinate a gambling summit, and involve stakeholders in problem gambling processes. So we still have those tactics that, and some plans set to work through those. And then we have one that's deferred, and that is seeking general fund money for criminal investigations.
So what did you say, how many of these goals did you say that we've actually accomplished?
So there's 19 objectives for the
Objectives,
four
that is-
goals,
Mhm.
and we've completed 14. And then one was determined not to be needed. 3 are still in process and 1 was deferred.
There's a couple here that I don't think that we've completed, but we can talk about that during the course of the
Okay.
conversation today.
Okay. And one of those that is still in process is involving all stakeholders in problem gambling processes. Is that one of them? Just to let you.
Also, the problem gambling task force study was not completed in 2019. It wasn't presented to the, I mean, these are,
Oh, gotcha. We'll definitely. So then after just getting an update on our goals, then next slide, please. It's important that goals align with the mission, vision, and values. And I'm hearing a lot of feedback. Is that just?
I think that's
me?
just the mic.
Okay. So our goals should align with our mission, which is to ensure that gambling is legal and honest. Next slide, please. Our values are integrity, diversity, professionalism, and respect. Next slide, please. And just to review, our vision is to, which also should be considered as you set your goal, as we set our goals, is to maintain public confidence by conducting a fair and regulatory enforcement programs, investigating illegal activities, making sure that we're building positive partnerships and relationships, providing a workplace that allows employees to excel at their jobs, and anticipating and responding to an evolving gambling industry. Next slide, please. And as you decide what we should be striving to achieve for the next 5 years, it's good to keep in mind the business initiatives that we already have been committed to for the next several years. So this is work that we need to do in addition to our mission critical work, which includes incorporating DEIB and an innovative mindset into our culture.
DEIB.
Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging.
Do you think that we should spell those things out for people like me and maybe the general public?
Yes, and my apologies, tried to get it all on one slide.
I understand.
But yes,
This is for us then.
yes.
Okay.
And then obviously replacing our legacy IT systems. Every department in the agency will be impacted through the replacement of these IT systems, except HR. So we interact with these legacy systems in such a manner that it is impacting our current way of doing business. We are unable to make any efficiencies in how we do business and making any efficiencies to our business processes until these systems are replaced. And so it will take a great deal of staff time to go through the actual assessing the needs for this IT system. And not only for today, but making sure there's capacity to build and use the system into the future and meets our future needs. And then training, the conversion to the system, and then also changing our business processes in all of those departments, because the efficiencies, it will just be incumbent upon us to have to change how we do business, because how we relate today will definitely change to how we work in the future. So a lot of things tied to those IT system replacements. And as we mentioned yesterday, we must get a records management system. We need to update our agency website for usability and accessibility. Oh, I'm sorry, Senator. Senator Conway, did you have a question?
When you're through, go ahead.
Okay. And then we need to create tools and expectations around succession planning. We have a very large number of people, large group of staff who are eligible and or will be eligible in the next few years for retirement. And so that obviously goes into recruitment, training, and retaining staff as something that we continue to work, put a great deal of effort into. Senator Conway?
Yeah, are you through here with your presentation?
With this list, or with this slide, excuse me.
Go ahead and finish your slides. I have a general question to ask.
Okay, next slide, please. So then this is the information that we received from staff regarding our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Staff weighed in on all four and identified our strengths as having, extremely knowledgeable staff in the area of gambling and have been called upon a number of times as subject matter experts in a number of different areas for gambling and gambling related crimes. Staff builds positive working relationships both internally and externally and has a fair and consistent approach to regulating and enforcing gambling rules and laws. Some of the weaknesses that inhibit our abilities to accomplish strategic goals could be the ability to recruit, retain, and train staff. Our slow reaction to changes in the gaming technology that comes about. And then business processes. We are, as I indicated, limited to the efficiencies that we can make currently to how we can conduct business and just how we get tasks done on a daily basis based on our IT systems. And as well as funding, being self-supporting, there is self-funded. We do have some challenges, as we heard yesterday. Some opportunities and threats based on feedback from staff, licensees, and tribal partners. These are external factors that could impact our ability to be successful in completing future strategic goals. Some opportunities are to engage stakeholders and tribal partners, such as providing more training, outreach, discussions, and education, and reducing duplicative regulatory efforts with those that our tribal partners are completing. Some threats would be unable to timely respond to changes in the industry, such as technology and alternatives to Class 3 gaming, as well as judicial decisions and potential litigation that may interpret laws that change the scope of gaming in Washington. Now, this is just a summary of the SWOT information that we received. In your memorandum, you have a little bit more information on some of these topics as well as a few others.
Do you think that there was a good participation from like licensees and stakeholders that were able to get a pretty good number, or is this kind of?
I don't remember the numbers. Julie, do you remember how many we had attend both groups?
We had 18 attend the licensing. And I want to say there was 28 or 26 that attended the tribal one.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And we left it open. So we took that Friday after the commission meeting. So I believe it was September 9th. And we had individual meetings with licensees and then scheduled meetings with the tribal partners. And we also, we published it a couple weeks in advance, let them know, and then held the meeting and then gave them time to actually also respond if anything came up afterwards through askus.wsgc.wa.gov. And then I believe that, didn't you and Julie talk about this as well at WIGA within the week or two following?
Right. I had an opportunity to meet with Wyga, and we had some coffee and talked about some of these topics as well.
So.
Thank you.
Mhm. So that leads us to goal development. Next slide, please. So as you're getting ready to develop these goals for the next 5 years, obviously you want to keep in mind the mission, vision, values, our current business initiatives, because that could impact the amount of time that staff has to complete the goals, our financial health, the SWOT analysis, and as you're going to develop these goals, you'll want to come up with about 3 to 5. Turn my sound off here. 3 to 5 broad, high-level, issue-oriented statements that align with the mission, vision, and values, and answers the question, what must we do to accomplish our mission or achieve a result? So you're focusing on the what. Objectives, next slide, please, are the more specific parts of the goals that provide an operational way to know if we're accomplishing that goal that can be measured. So measurability is a key as well. And really keeping it up to no more than 4 objectives for each goal is because remember, after each goal, then staff is going to develop a strategy that talks about, that addresses the how we will accomplish that goal, as well as then a measure for that particular strategy. So I know you're just anxious to dive in. You have all these goals and objectives ready to just be thrown up to the board.
I can't believe you only have one pad.
I
I
asked
don't have, I have 5 pads. I could only find one easel, sorry.
Can we do Senator Conway's question first? Or?
Well, I have one last
Oh,
slide.
more slide, okay.
One last slide, and that is just to get you warmed up a little bit more. We did put some possible goals and objectives together for you, taking all of the information into consideration. You can, for your consideration, and or to just kind of demonstrate what it would look like, what the goals and objectives may look like. So I'll just go through these 3 goals: people, process, and partnerships. And under people, the objective, 3 objectives: build a strong workforce, and some of the strategies that would then potentially fall under that category would be recruitment, development, succession planning. Then with create and sustain connection, that touches on diversity as a core value with the agency, and some strategies for that would be creating an inclusive environment that leads to a sense of belonging. And then a measure would be retention, for example. And then advanced institutional knowledge, and obviously with our upcoming retirements, really to capture the lessons learned from those individuals, capture that institutional knowledge, define best practices, set up a training program that incorporates that information for staff, and really builds on the future workforce.
Go ahead.
So then under the goal of process, we have promote fair and equitable licensing and compliance programs. And again, that aligns with one of our values. And a strategy for this would be completely on point with Commissioner Reeves's proposal yesterday, that we evaluate whether or not the fee structure that we've created and the fee structure that is proposing to be used is sustainable, equitable, and inclusive. And then the other objective, cultivate an innovative culture, that would be to find new ways and techniques to accomplish our mission. And then we have modernized business strategies. that could also include rebalancing of funding mechanisms, and update business processes. And then with partnerships, promote public awareness and access. Some strategies that staff may, this is where Commissioner Patterson's self-exclusion would come into play, responsible gaming, where strategies to get ahead of problem gambling could be addressed, as well as illegal gambling, updating our website for accessibility, just that education and training and continual engagement with licensees and tribal partners, which could also flows into strengthening governmental partnerships, which would include tribes, state agencies, other regulatory and law enforcement agencies. And then lastly, collaborate with industry leaders. And in order to stay ahead of what is coming within the gaming industry and what lies ahead, and being ready to not be so reactive, but being proactive, at least in terms of knowing what's out there and not have to go gather the information and training once presented with a new technology. Meeting with manufacturers and licensees, as well as really engaging with the other regulatory groups that are like us in terms of gambling regulatory agencies and other associations. So that is what we have as potential. So you want to, should we take Senator Conway?
Conway.
Okay. That's it, Senator Conway. Ready for your question.
I was looking at your progress report between 2018 and 2022.
Okay.
And what I didn't see in it, and I thought maybe it might be important for all of us to remember, is COVID. I mean, the dramatic impact of COVID on our agency and on our gambling groups is probably, impacted whether or not we were able to achieve completely the goals and objectives that we laid out. And I just would encourage you to keep in mind that COVID was a pretty major impact on everything in government. So, and it has impacted the way in which we communicate, for example. It's impacted, I'll let you know, in terms of the Problem Gambling Task Force, it's impacted its progress completely. And I just would urge you, as you evaluate the past, that you remember COVID, because I don't think we can escape it in terms of our progress toward reaching our objectives. And that's just an observation for you to include in your report, because I just think it was a pretty major impact on everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Commissioner Patterson?
So Tina, I'm looking at the goals for 2018 and 2022. And the first goal, the number one goal that the commission agreed upon last time was increasing this commission's role in helping people who are suffering from addiction, from gambling addiction. And that wasn't called out in your recommendations here today. Specifically, I didn't see the words problem gambling in your recommendations today. And I wondered if there was a reason for that, or if you were trying to be more generic.
So yes, we were trying to be broad in the examples that we provided for a goal. Certainly we can put a goal that is specific to problem gambling and not opposed to that.
I would add that sometimes if something is not aligned within the right category and the emphasis may be a slight misfire, having it wrapped under the partnership piece of it and the public awareness push that encompasses that as an element might offer a better alignment and actually more action with respect to it.
Okay, I buy that. Thank you.
Can we put that one slide back up to this so we have it? I don't have it in my material, do I? I can't find it.
No,
Okay.
it wasn't created in time for
Okay,
the
no
packet.
worries. It's helpful maybe if we keep it up there.
Sorry.
So, and I guess I have a question or some, I don't know, some thoughts. So when you say number one, that doesn't mean the most important. You mean it's listed first. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
I mean, it might be number one in my mind.
Right. No, but I mean, I don't recall us weighting the 19 objectives, if I recall correctly.
Thank you for clarifying. I just saw the number one
Sure.
here. Right.
I just wanted to clarify and make sure that my memory was correct, which is faulty at times.
I don't think we weighted anything here.
Okay, yeah.
But I think this was the first thing that we discussed. Was the number.
Could have been,
Let me
yeah,
say it
I
was-
don't recall.
Okay.
Don't recall either.
Yeah.
But you're right, Commissioner Sizemore, there was no weighting of any of these. They were all very important.
And as we're developing this and brainstorming around it, I mean, when you write down a bullet of, for example, create sustained connection, it kind of forces you to think about elements like unconscious bias and what does it mean to be mindful and connected, and something like you just mentioned, listing something first, for example. It gets after that part of like an anchoring bias, that just because something's listed first, it's more important than the rest of the list. And so that's kind of why a broad categorized modern business practice of people process partnerships that encompasses all, and there's less of a weight added to any one area. They're more of a pillar of strength.
I buy that. I like that. The only thing that I will say, Chris and everyone, is I was there for the development of these goals. I've been around here a long time now, and I was very comfortable with these goals because they seemed specific to me, and I was thinking of the public reading them and that they would be able to understand what the commission's goals were. Whereas this language, I think, is broader. And I think that it's possible that when you read the language, that different ideas will come into people's heads. I mean, in other words, everybody won't read this language in the same way because it's broader, it's more generic. But you've explained why you think it's good to do it that way. The specifics come later when we today determine what our objectives are.
Right. This is a primer for us to build on.
Mhm.
And if you want a specific statement that is attached to an objective that the agency develops the strategy and the performance metrics
Mhm.
to track, it's not just listing it up there, but we need to be able to measure our success in getting after that. This is the draft, and we add to it. We finish the painting.
So out of curiosity, like there's people and then build a strong workforce. And so then we put some like measures under build a strong workforce, but how many? I mean, I guess I've never done anything like this before.
So this is an example of what you would potentially what we would walk away with today, right? If you wanted, we could put the long sentences. We can do that. You can do long sentences. You can do 3 or 4 words. That's why in your packet, I also showed some other state agency examples. It doesn't appear that there is a right way or a wrong way. So this is an example of very short, defined goal statements, which is people, process, and partnerships, and then with the objectives. Now, if this is what you ended with today, which is if you guys want to go further and tell us the how, the reason I suggest that staff get involved with the how to accomplish what you are setting out is so that they can have buy-in, since they would be the ones moving forward to actually complete. But certainly any feedback that you give today, it's recorded, we can come back to this and staff would be able to listen to the comments to kind of gauge more and to align with the how you anticipate it to be complete. Or you can develop the whole thing with the tactics and the the strategies and the measures today. So you're not forced to use this in any capacity.
I'd like to share with the other commissioners the goals. There were 4 of them that we developed last time. I don't know if you have.
We can go back on.
They're
Yeah, I
the-
was there.
I thought those were
Oh,
the
you were there?
objectives.
Yeah, I was. Commissioner Reeves also has.
Or objectives.
You
next
forget,
to
yeah, going to. Then our-
There were 4 goals.
Yeah,
There were,
in all of our
there were,
materials.
yeah, there were 4 goals and 19 objectives.
Right.
In the previous, and we can put them back up on the slide.
That's okay. These guys say they have it in their materials, so.
Yeah, so it was increase the commission's role in helping people who are suffering from gambling disorders. That was goal 1, and it had 5 objectives. And then goal 2 was strengthen legislative relationships, and it had 5 objectives. And then goal 3 was staff continuity and succession planning, and there were 4 objectives. And then strengthen stakeholder relationships, and there were 5 objectives. And I believe Commissioner Reeves. Commissioner Reeves?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Great. So I don't know how many folks on the commission know this, but my academic background is actually in organizational development and organizational leadership, strategy, planning, all of that fun stuff. So I want to start by just commending the staff for doing the work using tools that we often use in strategic planning and development and bringing this forward. I think the thing that I am missing in this conversation, however, is as Chris said, kind of an anchoring in what the objective or what success looks like coming out of this conversation. Because I do think if the success metric is you've presented this, this is what you want us to vote on and adopt, great. I think I concur with Commissioner Patterson that I guess I came to the meeting today with the understanding that we would be helping you build out strategies, tactics, and KPIs relative to this work. And so if that is not the homework that we need to be doing here, I just like somebody to kind of set the boundaries on how we're using our time and community together today.
We can certainly build out. Yeah, you can complete the whole plan. That works. If you want to do goals, objectives, and strategies and measures, yes, that's fine.
And I would add that, you know, whether we get hung up on specific verbs or words, you know, what is a goal, what's a objective, strat, you know, the successive layers, you're starting out broad and getting more and more detailed as you go, whatever you want to call each successive level. But as a whole, now this is going to be steering the agency, the commission, everyone into the next 5 years, and you tie things back to it, like how you spend your money, how you make decisions. So there needs to be a certain amount of room for flexibility in there, as well as staff participation in determining how a certain area might impact them. And the gray areas in between, that's where the leadership comes in.
I guess for me, I'm just kind of struggling in that, like, build a strong workforce could mean something different to several different people. So just
That's
to
where we
defining
define it.
each one a little
Yep.
bit better. I don't know that we have to go too detailed, but maybe today at least try to define what these things mean to us in the organization, if that makes sense.
So some bullets.
And again, if you don't have to take any of this. You can,
I
we
think
can
it's a good starting
take
point.
the slide away and you can develop your own goals, objectives, strategies, and measures. So just trying to give tools to help, and I appreciate Commissioner Reeves, like, you have any other guidance, I welcome it. So, Commissioner Reeves, did you have?
So my only piece of feedback in this is that I think about this in the work that we do in the military, where we talk about something called commander's intent, which is I know that I need to go take the hill over there to accomplish my mission, but there's 700 different ways to take a hill, right? And so I think in context of the Gambling Commission, I think about this as you've set what the goal is, which is to keep gambling legal and honest. That's our mission, right? There's 70 different ways in which we can do that work. I think what you've identified is 3 very key swim lanes in which we do that work. What I would love to see the commission do, and I think that's where Commissioner Levy was kind of going, is I think it would be either ideal to either have us take each of these bullets and talk about what they mean to us as commissioners to provide some commander's intent, if you will. I don't think that it's probably helpful for us to get into the strategies and tactics at the commissioner level. I think that's something that we need to trust our subject matter experts in the agency to tell us how they're going to take the hill after we've given them kind of that overarching goal. That would be my recommendation on how we spend time together today, but I leave it to the other commissioners to agree or disagree to that.
So, Commissioner Reeves, you called those swim lanes, and that analogy works well for me. You said you don't think that we should get into strategies and tactics, and that works well for me. But are you saying, and this is what I hope you're saying that we should have a conversation about what we think our objectives are in those swim lanes? And in other
Yeah.
words, you know.
Yeah, I think we should absolutely talk about all of the things that have been presented to us, see if there's anything missing that any of us came to this meeting going, hey, I really feel like we're missing, something in the people swim lane or something in the process swim lane. Throw it up on the board, have a conversation about it, and then rack and stack these. Let me say that. We're not going to rack and stack because it sounds like Chris is really focused on the DEIB piece of that and not anchoring priorities, which I totally appreciate. That was just my faux pas in using that language. But basically determine of these, how do we give directive to staff that these are kind of the things that we care the most about and that we are going to measure success by 5 years from now. Does that sound right, Chris, Tina? I don't want to preempt your process because obviously we all have different styles in doing organizational development.
Sure. One thing that would be helpful is we could take each of these topics and then bullets. We have some tools in the room and we can just start some discussion on each one, what they mean. And even if we discuss it in this room, doesn't mean we can't take it back to staff and have it modified. But I think that the overall framework or structure should be fairly well built, taking it out of here today. And we can absolutely, start off build a strong workforce at the top of the flip chart here and go around the room and talk about some key areas of focus.
Senator Conway?
Well, I'm no authority in all this. I don't present myself as authority on organizational development, but my observation is that the slide that's before us really is agency directed. In other words, it's what the agency, if I understand the process, you've had a brainstorming meeting inside the agency and developed what you consider to be your agency goals and objectives. But when I look back at the goals that were developed 2018, it's like the commission has set out some goals for itself.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we blend the commission direction with the agency direction, because I think that your brainstorming here on goals and objective for your agency are very good, although they need to be fleshed out a bit. But I look at the goals that the commission developed, And they are all really basically publicly oriented, not toward the stakeholders, but toward the goals of the commission. And I don't know how you blend those two together, because I think, you know, if we're looking strictly at the agency, I think your goals and objectives seem reasonable. I'm not an authority on that. But, you know, keep in mind, when the commission sets its goals and objectives, they're a little broader than just the agency direction. And look at them, you know, building legislative relationships, building a greater program on problem gambling. The one goal, the staff continuity and succession planning, kind of blends in with this. But the idea of strengthening stakeholder relationships are involved and engaged in yours. But I'm just going to make sure that, you know, we basically have two organizations here for strategic planning. One is the commission, the other is the agency. So just an observation, all right?
No, thank you. And again, these were just an example, and to start conversation. You can love them, you can hate them, we can build off of them. And I totally understand and acknowledge that we are here today for the commissioners to develop goals and objectives. And I do understand that these were the commissioners' goals, though they become the commission's goals from 2018 to 2022.
You know, I would only say that it might be good to discuss with the commissioners whether they feel like we've achieved the goals that we set for ourselves 4 years ago.
I was going to add that, Commissioner Conway, I was going to add that that was the consideration during the thought process in developing these to mesh what was left undone, what was already chartered. And so you'll see that interwoven into, for example, promoting the public awareness was at that problem gambling area. The building the strong workforce was at the succession planning area. The strengthen the government partnerships was about the legislative relationships, as well as the tribal and stakeholder engagement. So they're definitely a forefront consideration within this brainstorm session. But what we're kind of offering today as a perspective is everything, all the other information that we've gathered from the SWOT analysis inside the agency, external to the agency, kind of a larger picture, and trying to bring everything together, and then hopefully leaving here from some good commander's intent, as Commissioner Reeves had left it, with that alignment piece of what the commission is steering the agency towards, and the agency piece and where we're actually able to focus most effort and actually get the results. If there's anything left from the previous one that is left over, we absolutely should carry it forward. But we also need to posture ourselves for a 2028 version of what the industry is going to look like. And are we set?
I think it would have been helpful for you to have put down you said something, you integrated these ideas into that analysis, but for someone left out of the process, I don't see it. When we say promote public awareness, you know, yes, it probably includes problem gambling, but it's not clear that that's the case. Public awareness could be, you know, many other things as well, making public aware that there is a gambling commission, for example. And I mean, strengthening governmental relationships, you know, you have two major relationships there, the executive department and the legislative department. And, you know, you have, you know, it's not clear what you mean by those phrases, I guess, is what I'm saying. And so if you want us to go through these goals and objectives and flesh them out, I assume we could do that. But I think that's unclear from the analysis, pretty general. I think I think it was Julia Patterson mentioned that these are general ideas under which many things could be included. And I just,
Yes, sir, that's where the work comes in. That's what we're here for, right?
all right. So I don't know how we proceed here. My sense of it is that I could tell you in the setting of the goals in 2018, although you've listed a lot of activities we've done, have we really achieved what we intended? I can point out on problem gambling, we're right in the middle of the process here. We haven't really, we've had a long conversation, but we're in the process of implementing what was recommended here. And I bet most of the people who are on the problem gambling task force would say, we may have increased our role, but we haven't fulfilled our objectives. And I know on legislative relationships, that, as I said, is, I think we're doing better, but, I'm not certain what more we need to be doing here. And I'm just laying that out for you because I don't know how you want to proceed here, because building a strong workforce in from the legislative perspective means a diverse workforce. And diversity is a key issue for the legislative bodies right now, given the processes that have gone through since 2018. And I just, would suggest that, we probably, I don't know how you want to proceed here, but I
Yes, sir, we're ready to be your scribe. We can start tackling these one by one and adding that clarity and fleshing those out. This was the primer. We're ready for you.
yeah,
Commissioner Lawson had a question.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're not sort of biting off more than we can chew by establishing goals and objectives for the commission itself that are separate from the goals and objectives that the commissioners have. I see our role here as sort of being like the relationship of the legislature to the executive branch, right? The commissioners are here to set policy. So we're here to set the goals and objectives. And then it's up to the commission staff to carry them out in the way, the legislature sets policy and the executive branch is where the rubber meets the road. And so I think if we were to come out of today, or if our overall goal for today is to come up with goals and objectives for the commissioners that are different from goals and objectives from the commission, not only will we be here all day and maybe also all weekend, but we will have given ourselves too much work to do. And so I want to be focused on the commissioners setting policy for the commission to carry out. And within that, I fully expect that we will be going through what was established in 2018 to 2023 under the strategic plan to kind of check the box. Okay, did we achieve this goal? Yes or no? And we know some are ongoing, and some of those objectives will be carried over perhaps into our new strategic plan. But to Senator Conway's point, yes, part of this whole strategic planning process and the times that I've been through it are you go back, you look at your report card basically, and then you see where you need to improve based on what didn't get accomplished under the previous strategic plan, or how things have changed today, 5 years later, now that we've all been through a pandemic. So with that, I'll yield to Commissioner Reeves.
I absolutely want to echo Commissioner Lawson. Thank you. I'm sorry. I don't see the commission and the agency as two separate things. I see the commission as, again, back to kind of commander's intent. We are providing vision, leadership, accountability, but ultimately it is the agency and the subject matter experts in the agency that are going to accomplish this. So what I'd like to propose, just because I want to make sure that we are thinking about our time for today, the way that I am viewing this is that we have 3 swim lanes with 3 goals in each of these swim lanes. What I would love for us to do, Tina and Chris, if you are open to it, and I'm not in the room, And I don't have a digital whiteboard accessible to demonstrate this, but it would be great if we could start in one swim lane and not to prioritize these, but just go left to right on the chart and say, let's talk about what it means to each of the commissioners to build a strong workforce. What does it mean to each of us to create and sustain connection? What does it mean to advance institutional knowledge? If I was in the room, I'd have each of you put your thoughts on a sticky note. We'd put those sticky notes around the goal, and then we would theme those sticky notes to see where there was common agreement and where there wasn't. Then we would talk about those themes, and then we would talk about where there wasn't common alignment and what that meant. And then ideally what that would do is lend itself to, here are the 3 to 4 objectives that we're going to suggest to staff to accomplish these goals. But if I can just help move us forward, I think let's just start with going through each of these bullets and having the commissioners one by one go around and talk about what they mean to the commissioner. I'm happy to be corrected, but I'd like us to kind of move forward and get something out of this. Thanks.
Yeah, let's do it.
But we have 0 goals right now.
What do you mean?
We have 0.
Correct. Technically, the commission has not offered any goals. I'm just starting with what our staff has offered
Okay.
us. And if we want to add to it, delete them, go for it. But I think it's just, let's respond to what the staff has given us. We can choose to agree or not agree, but I feel like let's just start with what the staff has offered us.
And we do have sticky notes if you want to, or you just want to do it verbally, that's fine.
Just start.
Somebody else write the sticky note.
Do we want to, be able to split screen or what's or add
Julie
to it?
Anderson, can you,
I'm
Can you
gonna
put-
let Commissioner.
Get rid of the
Lawson in.
presentation and then we can see faces.
okay, I'm
Do
sorry.
we need the presentation?
No, I mean, we can just go, we know we're going on build a strong workforce to start with, right? So we can probably take it down while we talk about that and then someone just tell me what the next one is, because I don't have backup of memory.
I need to see that though, because.
Previous 2018.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
Side by side.
And then Chris, I would just throw out in the future, when we do hybrid meetings like this, it would be great if we could use a digital whiteboard, something like Miro or Mural, so folks can track how we're adding sticky notes to the whiteboard at the same time folks in the room are doing it.
Excellent.
So we'll just write on the board, will that work? If we just write it here, but then somebody has to type it so they can see. This is kind of the part where we ran into some challenges. So what would work?
I'm just waiting for Commissioner Lawson. Want to take a break?
Yeah, how about we take a break? I'll send out the PowerPoints and then that way you can have it on your screen. We'll see if we can get some, do you think we can get a printout? And we'll go ahead and work behind the scenes if that works.
Okay, we're gonna take a 10-minute break.
Thank you.
I don't have a laptop, so.
We'll get it for you.
You can share mine.